you will, waking up in the brand new house that you just closed on yesterday. You grab your favorite cup of coffee, your favorite book, and you go out and relax on the balcony that overlooks the one of 11 Finger Lakes that you chose to live on. You start planning out your day just to realize that the doctor's appointment you just scheduled is an hour and a half away because you didn't plan for proximity when buying a house. Turns out that things like that are very important, and so now you're contemplating your move. Do I have to move again? Am I going to be able to deal with this hour and a half drive every single time I go to the doctor's? Oh, by the way, I go to the doctor's a lot. So yeah, I might want to reconsider my move and move somewhere closer. Or your kid's school that you chose to be in is not that good. It doesn't have the activities that you thought it might because you didn't do the research the way that maybe you should have. Well, lucky for you, in this video, I'm going to be going over the full relocation guide, every single thing from top to bottom that you're going to want to be thinking about if and when you make that relocation to the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York. You don't want to miss a single thing in this list. There's going to be things I guarantee you're not thinking of. So stick around to the end. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. And as much as I love making these videos for you on all things Rochester and Finger Lakes living, I would love even more to help you with those real estate needs. So that number and that email, it's popping up on the bottom of your screen. I'm the guy that answers those texts, emails, and phone calls. Definitely don't hesitate to reach out. And without further ado, let's hop right into the video. All right, so first things first is you're going to want to start researching where you're actually going to live. Do you want to be closer to the Rochester area, or do you want to be further into the Finger Lakes? So you need to start by researching a bunch of the different neighborhoods in the areas, right? So if you're looking in the Finger Lakes region, you're going to want to research Skaneateles or Geneva or Ithaca or Romulus, right? Or Gorham or Canandaigua or Honeoye or Canisius. All of these different areas, and then you're going to want to consider that area with proximity to other things, other amenities, other schools, your work if you're not a remote worker, and then just overall like entertainment and restaurants and things like that, right? In addition, is especially if you're in the Finger Lakes region, you're going to want to understand how that area, how that town is going to be affected by seasonality in weather, right? So if you're in the winter, here in upstate New York, we get a lot of snow, a lot of ice, a lot of water. So if you're in some of the back road areas, you may not have plowing on your road. It's very possible that you don't have public plows or the municipality plows that come out and plow your roads. So how is that going to happen? Are you going to have long driveways? A lot of the areas, especially out in the hills, are going to have longer driveways. So you might need to buy a quad or, a four-wheeler or a truck that has a plow on it so that you can plow yourself out if you need to in order to get to work or the doctor's office or whatever. So that's the other thing, is proximity to the doctor's office or your dentist or whatever else you or your kids may have to go to. Moving on to number 2 is going to be transportation. Transportation, meaning how are you going to get around? Are you going to need a vehicle? And I'm going to cut that conversation short. Regardless if you're in Rochester or the Finger Lakes region, you're going to need a vehicle. We are not an area where you're going to want to walk around. It'll take you forever. And in fact, having a vehicle, even if it's a beater, your commute is going to be very short. It's not a huge area, especially Rochester is not a big city. But if you're in the Finger Lakes, you might take a little bit longer because you're going around back roads and whatnot. And, there is distance between things. So that being said, with vehicles, you need to understand public transportation. In the Finger Lakes, there is none. There is no public transportation. There's going to be Uber and Lyft. Those are going to be the two things that you're going to have for public transportation. And then a friend or family member's vehicle. So you need to carpool or have your own vehicle or call Lyft and Uber if you're going to want to get around. Moving forward, what are the driving distances to other major hubs? So if you're in the Finger Lakes, depending on what town you actually live in, what is the distance to a place like Rochester or another bigger town like Canandaigua or Geneva or Ithaca, where you can, or Skaneateles, where you can get a lot of the amenities of those, like the small city type things, like within city limits, I should say. The things like a Wegmans or a Walmart or other shopping centers and things like that, or other local amenities and restaurants. What is going to be the distance to that? And how is that going to take an impact or a toll on your car? If you're mainly back roads, I mean, it might be a better idea to get a beater or something that has a great suspension system, because there's probably going to be potholes. There's probably going to be rocky and dirt roads. These aren't super remote areas where you don't get service at, like cell phone service and whatnot. But they might be areas that the roads aren't going to be great. They're going to be windy roads. They're going to be probably unimproved roads. So factor that in when buying a car. Are you going to want a beater, something that you don't care if it gets beat up, or are you going to want something that's going to hold up a little bit better? And then in addition to transportation is what about traveling? So if you're going to the airport, where are the nearest airports? Are you closer to Syracuse or are you closer to Rochester? And then what's the distance between that? So if you travel for work a lot, you're probably going to want to be closer to Canandaigua, or you'll want to be closer to Syracuse, because those are the two major airports in the area. So if you travel, just consider one of those things, right? Those two areas for the local airports. The third thing to consider, and maybe this is the first thing that you consider depending on you and your family situations, is where are you going to go for healthcare, for your medical care, for your doctors, your physician's office, your pediatrics office, urgent care, the emergency room, your dental offices, your pharmacies. Where are you going to go for all of these things? Is there one in the town that you're eyeballing, or are you going to have to go to one of the nearest towns? A lot of the time, too, people go to a neighboring town to go to the specific practitioner that they want to actually attend, potentially one that's available that you can get into. Chances are it's not going to be that far of a drive, but it's something to consider, because if you have to go to an urgent care on a Saturday night or something like that, or an emergency room visit on a Saturday night, are you going to be close enough? If you got young kids, or elderly folks in your home, you're going to want to make sure that you're pretty close to those emergency rooms and those urgent cares, or your specialty physician, right? If dialysis or, any sort of like bleeding disorder physician is in the cards for you. Like, these are the things that might be important for you guys. If you need quick and easy access to them, that might also hinder or determine what town you're going to decide on when moving here. Moving right along, number 4, is there a school that you really want your children to attend? Is there a university that your kid is actually attending and you want to be nearby? What about private schools or community colleges? And if so, is the area that you're eyeballing close enough to that? Here, we don't have county schools. We have town schools. So, there's a lot of other states that have school districts for the county. We don't have that. We have school districts for each individual town. So you have Canandaigua schools, you've got Victor Central schools, you have Gorham, you have Mid Lakes, you have Marcus Whitman, you have West Genesee. You've got all these different towns that have their own individual schools. The school that you go to is really dependent upon what town you're living in. So that's really going to alter and change where, you're considering. You might see a house that you really like that's in Marcus Whitman school districts, but you might not want your kids to go to Marcus Whitman schools. That's totally up to you. But if you have a school that you have in mind that you really want your kids to go to, maybe because of a certain program that they have, or academic policy, or the superintendent, or whatever the case is, you want to make sure that you're in that town so that your kid can go to that school. That's very important. That's one thing that is very different about this area compared to many other areas throughout the United States. Additionally, you can go on niche.com and you can pull up the school rankings, and you can rank them by diversity, or you can rank them by athletics, best for athletes or best for teachers. So if you're in education, you can then go see what school would be best for you to go work at, and so on and so forth. So that's a great resource if you're looking solely at school districts. Number 5, super important, is grocery stores and shopping. So, where are you going to get your groceries at? Or do you need a Wegmans around, or are you good with Walmart and Aldi, or, do you need a Costco or a Whole Foods or something like that, right? And then what's your proximity to those things? Are you on a specialty diet and you need certain foods labeled, or like my wife has celiac, so everything has to be labeled gluten-free in order for her to eat it. If it's not labeled gluten-free, she's not eating it. That's very important, and Wegmans is the one place that labels all of their products. So she feels very comfortable with Wegmans. So we like having a Wegmans nearby. I will say there's Wegmans near a majority of these towns, or within driving distance of a majority of these towns. But if you have a specialty diet, there's other places that you might need to go to. So you need to factor in, are you one of those people that has a specialty diet? And then how close is the nearest grocery store that suits you to the town that you're eyeballing that is on your short list, right? Number 6, utility services. So this is going to be your gas, electric, your sewage services, your water services, propane, right? These kind of things. If you need a septic pump, are there companies out in the area? Most likely, yes. But, for an example, if you need your septic pumped, is there a company nearby that can do it for a reasonable price? Or are they going to have to charge you a travel fee because they're coming from so far? Is there a well inspector service that is nearby if you're on a well? If you're on public utilities, most of the time it's coming from the town. So your sewage and your water is coming from the town. The gas is either going to be New York State Electric and Gas, or it's going to be Rochester Gas and Electric. Either of those, they're great options, but you're going to want to factor in roughly how much your bill is going to be. Or are you going to be on propane, and is there propane service providers out in that area? And then roughly what does that charge for a certain size gallon tank, right? So that's something that's super important as well. What about trash pickup services? Do you have access to the local dump, and you get tickets and you can go to the local dump and drop off all your garbage? Or do you need a trash pickup service? What about internet? Are you going to need Greenlight or Spectrum, or do you need Starlink, or any of these other services? What services the area? And these are basic internet searches that you can come up with. You can find the answers to, but a lot of people tend to forget about that. And, a lot of you guys now are working from home. Unless you're a federal employee, now you're getting sent back to work. But if you work from home, especially the internet is going to be very important, because that's kind of your lifeline. Next up, number 7 is auto services. So where are you going to be taking your car for maintenance? And I'll tell you, if you're living in the Finger Lakes, you're probably going to need regular maintenance, because there's potholes and there's all sorts of stuff. There's going to be salt and snow and water that's getting on your car that might be kind of wearing away at the bottom side of your vehicle. Maybe rusting the vehicle. Where are you going to get your oil changes or your wiper blades and things like that, right? Additionally, what about car insurance providers? Are there any local services, or are you going to have to go to a big name like Geico or USAA or State Farm, or all these other places? Are there local mechanics? So if your car breaks down, are there travel mechanics that will come out to your house or wherever your car breaks down at and fix your car? Are there local towing services? In the Finger Lakes, there are towing services. That's one thing that we do have in abundance, because a lot of cars break down because of the conditions of the Finger Lakes, the roads and whatnot. So just something to keep in mind is repair shops and maintenance shops and things like that, right? Number 8 is financial services. What about what banking options are available? Are you going to have to come to a local bank here in the area? I know that was one thing when I got out of the Marine Corps. I was banking through Navy Federal Credit Union, and in the area here, there is no Navy Federal Credit Union. So I switched to ESL. That I'm pretty sure ESL is a regional bank, but then there's like Finger Lakes Federal Credit Union. There's all sorts of different things. Canandaigua National Bank is great. Genesee Regional Bank is great. But then you have like Chase and Bank of America and these other big ones. So is there your bank in that area that you're looking at, or are you going to have to switch banks, and how do you go about doing that? So quick Google searches can help you kind of find that out too. You can look up the branches of each individual bank that you go to. I know some people have multiple banks, different accounts, whatnot. So research the branches of each individual bank that you use and see if it's in the local area. And if not, are you willing to switch, or are you willing to bank virtually? Are there ATMs nearby? Most of the grocery stores are going to have ATMs. It sounds like a silly thing, and most people, accept credit and debit now too. So you may not need ATMs, but it's nice to know if there's options. Additionally, what about mortgage lenders? I will say the Finger Lakes in the Rochester region is very conservative with who's being used as a mortgage lender. So chances are, if you're not working with a local lender, you might get thrown to the bottom of the stack as far as where your offers lie when buying a house. Especially if you're using someone like a Rocket Mortgage or a Bank of America or a Chase Bank, right? These big box stores who don't have employees that work past 5 p.m. We have a bunch of local branches here that you can get a mortgage through that will answer their phone at 9 p.m., 10 p.m. on a Saturday night if they need to, because real estate doesn't stop at work hours. We continue on throughout all hours of the night. I've had conversations at 2, 3, 4 in the morning with loan officers, with clients, with other agents, just because things have to get done, right? Moving forward, number 9 is entertainment and leisure. What can you do for fun in the area? Is it strictly just outdoor activities like hiking and going to the lake? Or are there local parks and trails and other recreation areas? Like, if you're closer to Canandaigua, you can go to Irondequoit and go to Seabreeze Amusement Park. Or if you're in Canandaigua, there's Roseland Water Park too, which is a really cool option as well. So there's some different things in certain areas that maybe you can do. And there's, some state parks like Letchworth State Park, or there's Watkins Glen State Park in certain areas of the Finger Lakes. So do you want to be near that kind of stuff? Do you want to be near entertainment and leisure options? Most people do, but if you're looking for just a quiet, quaint, kind of charming lifestyle where it's very slow and relaxed and you can sit out on your deck and have a cup of coffee and watch the water and whatnot, then maybe that's not important to you. Maybe you don't want to be near any of that stuff. But if that stuff is important, you're definitely going to want to research what's going on. I also know that a lot of you guys are coming here for the art and festivals and whatnot. So in the town that you're in is there are art festivals and, business festivals and things like that. If you're near Ithaca, you probably got all of it. If you're near one of the major towns like Skaneateles, Geneva, or Canandaigua, you're probably going to have it. But if you're in a smaller lake like Honeoye or Canisius or Cayuga, maybe you don't have that. Maybe it's a lot more rural and it's a lot calmer and slowed down, and there's not going to be a whole lot of festivals. Number 10 is going to be dining and restaurants. So if you like going out to eat, are there restaurants in the nearby area that you're going to want to go eat at? If you like seafood, are there seafood restaurants? If you like steakhouses, is there a steakhouse nearby? If you have specialty diets that you require, is there any of those restaurants nearby? Like I said, my wife has celiac, so in Geneva, they had a all gluten-free restaurant. It's gone now, but they had one and it was a very nice feature. It was great. We could go there every Friday for fish fries. It's really cool having that kind of stuff nearby. So if you require a certain diet and you like going out, are there specialty restaurants that offer that diet specifically? Or will you have to travel to Rochester in order to get something like that? Or Syracuse or Buffalo in order to get something like that? something to consider. If you like coffee shops, are there coffee shops around? Are there farmers markets? Most of the time in the Finger Lakes, there's going to be plenty of farmers markets. There's going to be plenty of farm to table type restaurants as well. So that's great. You're going to get a lot of fresh meat, a lot of fresh food. So that's going to be great. Any seafood, because we're not by the ocean, it's not going to be as fresh, but it's still going to be very good. Something to consider. Moving right along, number 11 is safety and emergency services. So some of these towns don't have their own local PD. They might utilize the sheriff's office and the state troopers. So if that's a town that you're considering, you're going to have to factor in like, hey, if something happens at my house, it might take a little bit longer for a police officer to get out here or for emergency services to get out here. Now, most municipalities are going to have a fire district or a fire department or something like that. Even if it's just like 1 or 2 trucks, they may not be big fire departments, but as long as they have them, then you'll be good. But again, it might take a little bit longer because they might be volunteer departments. So if they're coming from neighboring areas to be able to help with an emergency at your house, it's just going to take longer. So again, some of these bigger areas like Canandaigua or Geneva or Skaneateles might have, or Ithaca, might have their own police departments that service that area specifically in the city limits of that area, plus the sheriff's office, plus the state troopers, plus the DEC, right, in fire departments and emergency squad departments. So if emergency services are something that's super important to you, just factor that in and look for the nearest local emergency service, because it could take a little while to get out to your house. Number 12, and this actually kind of comes in with the first point that I made about like where are you going to live and doing that research. You should also be researching taxes and financial planning, right? So taxes, we get charged on taxes for property taxes is your county, the local community that you're in. So if you're in Canandaigua, if you're in the city, you'll get hit with Canandaigua City, Canandaigua Town, the county, and the schools. If you're within city limits, your taxes are going to be a lot higher. If you're near more industry, your taxes are going to be a little bit lower. If you're not near industry, your taxes might be higher. So these are things to factor in. Do some research. I can provide some resources to you if you have questions about tax services and whatnot, but then also financial planning and sales tax and whatnot too, if you run businesses and whatnot and you need to charge sales tax or whatever. But yeah, these are all things that are very important to plan ahead of time so that you're not caught off guard by taxes when either looking for a house or settling in on the house and seeing that mortgage payment for the first time and being like, holy crap, I wish I paid attention more to the taxes because they're expensive. Number 13, community and social connections. So where are you going to build your social network at? Where are your kids going to go network and meet a community? Is there local Y fun nights, or are there local community events or concerts in the park or something like that? We don't have a whole lot of that stuff. We have local events at the YMCA or some of the libraries around. Some of the towns have community centers that they might participate in different events and whatnot. There might be bingo night for some of the seniors out there. There might be business networking events for any business professionals or young professionals. So there's all sorts of different options, but whether or not it suits you and your particular needs, that's going to be very dependent on the town and the specific chamber of commerce in that area. Again, a simple Google search of like networking events in the town that you're going in will suffice. You might be able to find things. You can also search on Facebook or Instagram, by searching the town, and maybe like I know Canandaigua 2020 and Canandaigua Chronicles has a page. There's Victor Chronicles, Victor sales pages, things like that that will oftentimes post a lot of community relations and community events that you can go to if you plan to network and get social with the community and meet new people, whether it's for yourself or for your kids. There are really cool things that go on. You just got to be adamant and proactive about finding them. Number 14 is going to be local regulations and zoning laws, right? So if you're coming here and you're planning to build a house, You're going to have certain setbacks and certain parameters that you have to build within. You're going to need to place a septic or a well in certain areas. You can't have a well downhill from a septic, I feel like, for obvious reasons. Now you're mixing nasty water with your drinking water. So there's certain, regulations. There's quiet hours in certain neighborhoods, and there's also zoning laws and restrictive things that, for property, depending on how much land you have. Each town kind of has different restrictions too. So whether you can have livestock or not on 2 acres or whatever, is there any sort of signage or fence or posts or anything that you can put on your land or can't put on your land? Can you have horses? Can you have chickens, right? These kind of things. If you're one of those who you want livestock, or you want things that are going to require local zoning and other, regulations, you're going to want to look into each town and go to their Department of Zoning or Department of Development boards and find these kind of answers out for you. If you have any questions, reach out to me. I can reach out to the directors of those towns and see what kind of answers we can get, and we can kind of go from there. But most of the time it's going to be right on the website, and you'll be able to find it pretty easily with a simple search. Number 15 is going to be weather and seasonal changes. Now, most of the time this isn't going to affect you. It's going to be pretty consistent throughout anywhere in the Finger Lakes. If you're closer out to Syracuse, you're going to get quite a bit more snow. If you're toward Canandaigua or Honeoye, you might not get as much snow, but you're still going to get snow, especially in the higher altitudes. That being said, depending on where you are in the Finger Lakes, you might have those dirt roads I was talking about. So there may not be plows. But then also, if there are normal roads and there are plows, the plows tend to take up chunks of the road. You're going to want to be cognizant of those potholes and the rocks and whatnot, and they could really do a number on your car. So those might be seasonal changes that could affect you. Understanding the climate, if you're coming from a place like Florida or Texas and you're not used to the winter, it gets damn cold. This winter especially was cold and snowy. So you're going to want warm clothes. You're going to want to layer up and bundle up and make sure that your kids are bundled up too. And if you got newborn babies, you probably shouldn't go outside in it because they can't breathe. And occasionally there are power outages with ice storms or, high winds and things like that. So if you can get a whole house generator, that's something that's super important. If you're on propane, what's nice is the propane will continue to work even in these outages. So if your electricity's out but your propane works, you can have a setup where you have a generator on propane and then it can power your electric and kind of go from there, right? So these are things that are going to really impact a lot of your daily life, as well as like things like, look, the fact of the matter is that we're a gloomy area. We don't get a whole lot of sun. So if you're one that you want sustainable energy like solar panels and stuff, you're going to have to be very strategic on where you put those solar panels, because, we don't get a whole lot of sun. So if you want direct sun to be able to optimize that solar panel, you need to be super strategic about that, as well as anything like windmills and whatnot. Like, you need to be very strategic in order to optimize it. Moving on, childcare and family services. Is there a daycare near where you're trying to move to? Is there, preschool or anything like that? Is there any family support services, any childhood counselors, any libraries or community centers, any YMCAs that you could send the kids to or go spend time as a family at? Those things are very important for a lot of the people that end up moving here. They want a good family atmosphere. And the Finger Lakes is a great place for it, but you need to select the right areas. So if you have specific questions on that, absolutely feel free to reach out to the information on screen, and I'd be happy to help you with that. Number 17. Just like with kids, you're probably going to be bringing pets. So is there going to be pet care in services related to pets? Is there going to be a vet nearby? Is there going to be emergency vets nearby? Are there places you can get your dog food, right? That being said, if you have outdoor animals, we do get very cold and harsh winters, so you're not going to want to have them outside. So you need to make sure you have a house that can sustain your animals. It sounds ridiculous, but a lot of people, especially down south or in mild climates, I hear that you keep your animals outside a majority of the year, because they're not going to be affected by the environment necessarily. Well, here in the wintertime, they will freeze to death. So you need to make sure that you either get them inside or you have a place for them that is safe and secure for them. As well as, we do get other animals around here. So deer and a bunch of squirrels, and sometimes we get bears and fox and whatnot. So if you have chickens, the foxes might get your chickens. If you have a dog out in the yard that's unfenced, there might be bears. They're small bears, but bears nonetheless. I don't know if your dog is going to try and go pick a fight with the bear, but they might lose that one, right? So these are things to be cognizant of, as well as dog parks and pet friendly like restaurants and stores and things like that. Thankfully, in the Finger Lakes region, you have a lot of wineries and breweries that are very animal friendly. They love having their pets at the area, at the breweries and wineries and restaurants. Most of the time, it's just going to be outdoor seating for that if you bring a pet. But most restaurants aren't going to allow a dog in there just because sanitary reasons, right? But if there's outdoor seating and whatnot, you can absolutely bring a dog. That's one thing that the Finger Lakes region is great for. And then grooming and boarding too. If you travel a lot and you need to board your dogs, is there a boarding facility nearby? Is there a grooming facility nearby if you got one of the dogs like I do that sheds like freaking crazy, right? You're going to want to get them groomed. So is there a grooming facility nearby? Things to think about, right? Number 18, local government and civic engagement. Local government, where do they stand politically? Does it align with you? These things matter because typically wherever the local government is going to align, that's where the people are going to align too, or at least a majority of the people are going to align because they got to vote for them, right? So do they stand with you politically? And are you, if not, are you able to get along with that? A lot of people don't like to get along, especially nowadays. A lot of people don't like to get along with people who disagree with them on certain politics, right? So is the area that you're moving to, does it align with that? Also, are there ways to get involved in your local elections or get involved in the political landscape or the local government or the Chamber of Commerce or anything like that? If you're somebody who likes to take action on these things, are there opportunities in the town that you're looking for that you can get involved in? That could be very important in you and your family's lives. And then last but not least is number 19. It sounds silly, but how are you going to communicate and get local media for the local areas, right? Are there local channels that are in your area, or are you going to have to rely on Facebook and go to join Facebook groups? Is there a local news outlet or newspaper if you still read newspapers? Are there community newsletters and online forums, things like that? Social media groups for local happenings, and basically just how will you stay informed? This is important when you got a lot of things going on in the local community that could impact you and your family's life. This stuff is going to be important. So that's something that you're going to want to think about. And maybe that's not going to be the driver. And that's kind of why it's the last point on here. That's not going to be the driver of you going to a certain area, but it's certainly important. And you certainly want to look into these things before you move, just to make sure that, you can get local news if you need to. In addition to that, one thought that just popped in my mind is some of these areas may not have the best cell reception, especially if you're on a weird mobile plan or something, or with a carrier that doesn't have a lot of cell service. You're going to want to make sure that you certainly have Wi-Fi, but maybe you're going to need Starlink or something that's a little bit stronger. You might need fiber optic. Is there fiber optic in the area, especially if you work from home? So these are things you're going to want to factor in. You're going to want to look that up. Again, all of this could be simple Google searches, or it could be a simple conversation with me. So reach out to the information on the screen. And if you guys got anything from this video or any of my videos, I'd appreciate you hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video. I love making videos just like this one on everything Rochester and Finger Lakes related. So definitely don't hesitate to reach out. And until the next video, guys, see ya. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.